Today, I'll be diving into 5 ERP implementations that went off the rails, demonstrating how things can go wrong fast. Stick around to learn the critical missteps and how to keep your own project from suffering the same fate. Number 1, the U.S. Air Force's $1 billion Oracle debacle. Our first story takes us to the heart of the U.S. military. In 2005, the United States Air Force embarked on an ambitious journey to modernize its logistics systems. This project, known as the Expeditionary Combat Support System, or ECSS, was intended to be a game changer for the Air Force's supply chain management. The goal was nothing short of revolutionary: replace over 200 legacy systems with a single integrated Oracle ERP solution. This new system was supposed to track everything from airplane parts to personnel, streamlining operations and saving billions in the long run. The initial budget was set at $3 billion, with a projected completion date of 2013. However, by 2012, after spending nearly $1 billion, the Air Force had virtually nothing to show for it. No operational system, no improved efficiency, and just a mountain of wasted taxpayer dollars. The project was officially canceled in November of 2012, making it one of the most expensive IT failures in U.S. government history. Let's break down what went wrong. Underestimating complexity. The Air Force severely underestimated the challenge of integrated hundreds of systems. They assumed that because Oracle was a leading ERP provider, the implementation would be straightforward. And this was far from the truth. The existing systems were a mix of outdated technologies, some dating back to the 1970s. Each system had its own data formats, business rules, and interfaces. The task of mapping all this data to a single unified system was monumentally complex. Moreover, the Air Force's logistic processes were highly specialized and often unique to specific types of aircraft or operations. And trying to fit these into a commercial off-the-shelf system proved far more challenging than anticipated. Lack of proper project management. There was a severe lack of oversight and accountability. The project team didn't have clear milestones or metrics for success, leading to a runaway train scenario where costs spiraled out of control. The Air Force relied heavily on the contractors to manage the project with little internal oversight. This led to a situation where the contractors were essentially policing themselves, with no one from the Air Force side truly understanding the project's status or challenges. Additionally, there was frequent turnover in project leadership. Over the course of the project, there were at least 3 different program managers. Each change in leadership resulted in shifts in priorities and approaches, further destabilizing the project. Excessive customization. Instead of adapting their processes to fit the Oracle software, the Air Force insisted on heavily customizing the system. This not only drove up costs, but also made the system unstable and difficult to maintain. By the time the project was canceled, over 3,000 customizations had been made to the Oracle software. Each customization introduced new complexities and potential points of failure. Moreover, these customizations made it nearly impossible to implement Oracle's standard updates and patches, effectively locking the Air Force into an unsupported, one-of-a-kind system. Resistance to change. Perhaps most critically, there was strong resistance to change within the organization. Many employees viewed the Air Force as too big to change, leading to a lack of buy-in for the new system. The Air Force has a deeply ingrained culture with many processes and procedures that have been in place for decades. Changing these was not just a matter of implementing new software, but fundamentally altering how people worked. There was also a lack of effective communication about the benefits of the new system. Many employees saw it as an unnecessary disruption rather than an improvement to their daily work. So how could this disaster been avoided? Here are some key lessons. Phased implementation. Instead of trying to replace all 200 systems at once, the Air Force should have adopted a phased approach. They could have started with a pilot program in one department, ironed out the kinks, and then gradually expanded. This approach would have allowed them to identify and address issues early when they're less costly to fix, demonstrate success on a smaller scale, building confidence and buy-in, develop internal expertise gradually, reducing reliance on contractors. And they could have refined their implementation strategy based on real-world experience. Strong project governance. Establishing a steering committee with clear authority and accountability could have kept the project on track. This committee should have included both IT and business leaders to ensure alignment between technology and operational needs. Key components of effective governance would have included regular status reviews with clear, measurable metrics, a change control board to evaluate and approve or reject customization requests, independent audits to provide unbiased assessments of project health, and clear escalation paths for issues and risks. Change management program. A robust change management program, including comprehensive training and communication plans, could have helped overcome resistance to change. This should have started well before the technical implementation began. Elements of an effective change management program could include early and frequent communication about the reasons for change and expected benefits, involvement of end users in the design and testing phases to build ownership, comprehensive training programs tailored to different user groups, identification and empowerment of change champions within each department, and post-implementation support to help users adapt to the new system. Minimizing customization. The Air Force should have critically evaluated each customization request. Many could likely have been avoided by adapting business processes instead of modifying the software. Strategies to minimize customization include establishing a high-level review board for all customization requests, setting a high bar for approving customizations requiring clear business justification, exploring configuration options within the standard software before considering customization, and educating users on the long-term costs and risks of excessive customization. Independent oversight. Bringing in an independent third party to regularly audit the project could have identified issues early on, before they became catastrophic. An effective oversight process might include regular independent reviews of project progress, risks, and financials, benchmarking against similar projects in other organizations, assessment of vendor performance and contract compliance, recommendations for corrective actions when issues are identified. By implementing these strategies, the Air Force could have significantly increased its chances of success with the ECSS project. The lessons learned from this failure have since informed many other large-scale government IT projects, highlighting the critical importance of proper planning, governance, and change management in ERP implementations. California DMV's $290 million modernization nightmare. Let's move from the federal level to the state level with a story that hits close to home for millions of Californians. This case study illustrates how even well-intentioned modernization efforts can go awry without proper planning and execution. In 2006, the California Department of Motor Vehicles, the DMV, kicked off an ambitious modernization project called the Information Technology Modernization Program. The goal was to upgrade all major DMV systems simultaneously, replacing outdated technologies and improving service delivery for California's 24 million licensed drivers and over 32 million registered vehicles. The initial budget for this project was set at $208 million, with a completion date projected for 2013. However, by 2013, after spending $135 million, only 1 out of 6 planned upgrades had been completed. The project dragged on for years, plagued by vendor changes, scope creep, and outdated technology. In 2015, California finally pulled the plug, but not before the total cost had ballooned to over $290 million. The consequences were felt by every Californian who had to visit a DMV office. Longer wait times, sometimes stretching to several hours, reduced services, with some transactions impossible to complete. Frustrated employees struggling with the inefficient systems, leading to poor customer service, increased errors in vehicle registrations and driver's licenses, public outcry, and loss of trust in the DMV's ability to serve Californians effectively. Now let's break down what went wrong in this case. An overambitious scope. The DMV tried to do too much at once, attempting to upgrade all major systems simultaneously. This included the vehicle registration system, the driver's license system, financial management system, the occupational licensing system, customer relationship management system, and the document management system. Each of these systems was complex in its own right, with millions of records and intricate business rules. Trying to modernize all of them at once created an overwhelming level of complexity. There was also a lack of flexibility. The project was planned in 2006, but technology evolved rapidly over the next decade. The DMV failed to adapt its plans to these changes. For example, cloud computing became mainstream, offering new possibilities for scalability and cost savings. Mobile technologies advanced significantly, changing customer expectations for service and delivery. Cybersecurity threats evolved, requiring new approaches to data protection. The DMV's rigid plan plan didn't allow for incorporating these technological advancements, leaving them with an outdated system even before it was completed. Poor vendor management. Multiple changes in vendors led to knowledge loss and inconsistent approaches. The project saw at least 3 major vendor changes. From 2006 to 2009, Teal Data Center. From 2009 to 2012, HP Enterprise Services. From 2012 to 2015, KPMG. Each vendor change resulted in loss of institutional knowledge, changes in project methodologies and tools, delays as new vendors got up to speed, and inconsistencies in system design and implementation. Inadequate testing. The system went live with numerous bugs and integration issues. This was due to rushed testing phases to try to meet deadlines, lack of comprehensive test scenarios covering all possible use cases, insufficient user acceptance testing, failure to properly test integrations between different modules, and as a result, when parts of the system did go live, they were plagued with issues that directly impacted DMV operations and customer service. So how could the DMV have avoided this fiasco? Here are some key lessons. Phased implementation. Instead of trying to upgrade everything at once, the DMV should have prioritized its most critical systems and implemented them one at a time. A phased approach could have looked like this. Phase 1, upgrade the core vehicle registration system. Phase 2, modernize the driver's license system. Phase 3, implement the new financial management system. Phase 4, roll out customer relationship management and document management system. And Phase 5, upgrade the occupational licensing system. This approach would have allowed the DMV to focus resources on one system at a time, learn from each phase and apply lessons to subsequent phases, deliver value to customers and employees incrementally, manage risk more effectively by limiting the scope of each phase. Agile methodology. Adopting an agile approach would have allowed for more flexibility as technology evolved and requirements changed. Key aspects of an agile approach for the DMV could include breaking the project into small, manageable sprints of 2 to 4 weeks, regular demos of working software to stakeholders, continuous feedback and adjustment of priorities, flexibility to incorporate new technologies as they emerged, strong vendor partnerships. The DMV should have established long-term partnerships with key vendors, ensuring continuity and shared responsibility for the project's success. Effective vendor management strategies could include clearly defined roles and responsibilities for both the DMV and the vendors, performance-based contracts with clear deliverables and quality metrics, regular vendor performance reviews, knowledge transfer requirements to maintain continuity, and a collaborative problem-solving approach. Rigorous testing. A comprehensive testing strategy, including user acceptance testing, should have been implemented before any system went live. Comprehensive test scenarios covering all business processes, performance testing to ensure the system could handle peak loads, security testing to protect sensitive customer data, user acceptance testing with real DMV employees and customers, and lastly, pilot testing in select offices before statewide rollout. Pilot programs. Rolling out new systems in select offices before a statewide launch could have identified issues early and minimized disruption. A pilot program approach could involve selecting a mix of urban and rural DMV offices for initial implementation, running old and new systems in parallel to ensure data integrity, gathering extensive feedback from employees and customers, iterating and improving the system based on real-world usage, developing best practices for training and change management. By implementing these strategies, the California DMV could have significantly increased its chances of success with the ITM project. The lessons learned from this failure have since informed other state-level IT modernization efforts, emphasizing the importance of realistic planning, flexible implementation approaches, and a focus on delivering value incrementally. New York City's CityTime payroll system scandal. Our next story takes us to the Big Apple, where an ERP implementation turned into one of the biggest scandals in New York City's history. This case is particularly alarming as it involves not just project mismanagement, but outright fraud. In 1998, New York City initiated the CityTime project to modernize its payroll system. The goal was to replace multiple outdated systems with a single automated timekeeping and payroll system for the city's 160,000 plus employees. The initial budget was a modest $63 million, with an expected expected completion date of 2003. However, by 2011, costs had skyrocketed to over $700 million, and the system was still not fully operational. Even worse, a federal investigation uncovered a massive fraud scheme involving the contractors responsible for implementing CityTime. The fallout was severe. Several individuals, including the lead contractor and a city consultant, were convicted of fraud and money laundering. The primary contractor, Science Applications International Corporation, agreed to pay $500 million in restitution and penalties. New York City's procurement and project management processes came under intense scrutiny. Public trust in the city's ability to manage large-scale IT projects was severely eroded. So let's break down what went wrong. Lack of oversight. City officials failed to properly monitor the project and its ballooning costs. This lack of oversight manifested in several ways. Failure to question or investigate when costs began to spiral out of control. Lack of regular, detailed project status reviews. Insufficient scrutiny of contractor invoices and timesheets. Absence of checks and balances to prevent fraudulent activities. Poor contractor management. The city relied too heavily on contractors even for key project management roles. This led to conflicts of interest, as contractors were essentially overseeing their own work. Lack of accountability, as contractors could easily shift blame or hide issues. Loss of control over the project's direction and scope, and inflated staffing levels and billing rates. Inadequate fraud prevention. There were insufficient checks and balances to prevent and detect fraudulent activities. Specific issues included lack of separation of duties, allowing contractors to both approve work and bill for it, insufficient auditing of timesheets and expenses, failure to investigate red flags such as unusually high billing rates or hours, lack of whistleblower protections for those who might have reported suspicions, scope creep. The project expanded far beyond its original parameters without proper controls. This manifested as continuous addition of new features and requirements, failure to prioritize core functionality over nice-to-have additions, lack of a clear, fixed definition of project completion, allowing contractors to propose and implement unnecessary enhancements. How could this scandal have been prevented? Here are some key lessons. Strong internal project management. The city should have maintained control over key project management roles rather than outsourcing them to contractors. This could have been achieved in several ways. Hiring or training qualified city employees to oversee the project, establishing a dedicated project management office within the city government, clearly defining roles and responsibilities for city staff versus contractors, implementing rigorous project management methodologies and tools, regular audits. Implementing a system of regular independent audits could have caught irregularities early on. An effective audit process might include quarterly financial audits by an independent accounting firm, regular technical audits to assess project progress and quality, surprise audits of contractor timesheets and expenses, annual comprehensive project reviews by external experts, clear deliverables and milestones. Establishing clear, measurable deliverables and milestones would have made it harder for the contractors to inflate costs without showing progress. This could involve breaking the project into distinct phases with clear completion criteria, tying contractor payments to the achievement of specific milestones, regular demos of working software to city stakeholders, clear definitions of done for each project component. Whistleblower protection. Implementing strong whistleblower protection policies could have encouraged insiders to report suspicious activities earlier. Key elements of a whistleblower program might include anonymous reporting channels, like a hotline or web portal, protection against retaliation for those who report concerns, clear procedures for investigating reported issues, regular training for all project staff on ethical conduct and reporting procedures, strict change control. A change control process could have prevented unnecessary scope expansion and kept the project focused on its core objectives. An effective change control process might include a formal change request procedure for any modifications to the project scope, a change control board to evaluate and approve or reject change requests, impact assessments for all proposed changes like cost, timeline, and your resources, regular reviews of the overall project scope to ensure alignment with original goals. By implementing these strategies, New York City could have significantly reduced the risk of fraud and mismanagement in the CityTime project. The lessons learned from this scandal have since informed many other government IT projects, highlighting the critical importance of oversight, accountability, and fraud prevention in large-scale public sector initiatives. Hershey's 100 million Halloween nightmare. So let's switch gears to the private sector with a story that proves even sweet success can turn sour. In 1999, Hershey's, one of America's most beloved chocolate manufacturers, decided to implement a new ERP system. What makes this case particularly interesting is the disastrous timing of the implementation. Hershey's decided to go live with their new system in July 1999, just before their busiest season, Halloween. The company compressed what should have been a 48-month implementation into just 30 months, driven by fears of Y2K issues. The result? A $100 million treat turned into a terrifying trick. Here's what happened. Hershey's couldn't process $100 million worth of Kisses and Jolly Rancher orders. The company experienced a 19% drop in their quarterly profits, and their stock price fell 8% in a single day. Many stores were left with empty shelves during the crucial Halloween season. So let's break down what went wrong. Rushed implementation. Hershey's compressed their timeline, sacrificing crucial testing and training phases. This rushed approach led to insufficient time for proper system configuration and customization, inadequate testing of critical business processes, limited time for employee training and adaptation, cutting corners on data migration and system integration. Poor timing. They went live with the new system just before their busiest season. This decision was problematic because there was no buffer time to address unexpected issues. The system was immediately stressed with peak level transactions. Employees were learning the new system during the most critical time of the year. Any disruptions had maximum impact on the company's bottom line. Inadequate testing. Critical issues weren't discovered until after the system went live. Specific testing failures included lack of comprehensive end-to-end testing of business processes, insufficient stress testing to simulate peak season loads, inadequate integration testing between different modules, and failure to test all possible scenarios and edge cases. Lack of contingency planning. There was no backup plan when things started to go wrong. This lack of preparation meant there was no ability to quickly revert to the old system. There were no alternative processes for critical functions like order processing. There was lack of redundancy in key system components, no clear escalation path for addressing major issues. So how could Hershey's have avoided this meltdown? Here are some key lessons learned. A realistic timeline. Hershey's should have stuck to the original 48-month implementation plan, even if it meant addressing Y2K issues separately. A more realistic timeline would have allowed for proper system configuration and customization, comprehensive testing of all business processes, adequate employee training and change management, careful data migration and system integration, phased rollout. Instead of a big bang approach, Hershey's could have implemented the system in phases, starting with non-critical areas of the business. A phased approach might have looked something like this. Phase 1, implement financial and HR modules. Phase 2, roll out inventory management system. Phase 3, implement order processing and distribution modules. Phase 4, integrate manufacturing systems. And Phase 5, full system integration and optimization. Thorough testing. A comprehensive testing phase, including stress testing to simulate peak season loads, could have identified issues before they impacted operations. An effective testing strategy could have included unit testing of individual system components, integration testing between different modules, end-to-end testing of complete business processes, performance testing under various load conditions, user acceptance testing with actual business users, parallel running of old and new systems to ensure data integrity. Strategic timing. Choosing a less critical time of the year for the go live would have given Hershey's more room to address any issues that arose. A better approach might have been go live during a traditionally slower business period like early spring. Allow several months of operation before the critical Halloween season. Use the slower period to identify and resolve issues, and gradually ramp up system load to prepare for peak seasons. A robust contingency plan. Having a clear fallback plan, including the ability to quickly revert to the old system if necessary, could have minimized disruption. Elements of a strong contingency plan might include maintaining the old system in parallel for a defined period, clear criteria for when you revert to the old system, backup processes for critical functions like order processing, regular data backups and system snapshots, and a dedicated team for rapid problem resolution. By implementing these strategies, Hershey's could have significantly reduced the risk of disruption to their business. The lessons learned from this failure have since informed many other ERP implementations, highlighting the importance of realistic planning, thorough testing, and strategic timing in large-scale system rollouts. National Grid's $585 million post-hurricane disaster. This story takes us to the National Grid, a utility company serving customers in New York, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. In 2012, they decided to implement a new SAP system to streamline operations. What could go wrong? Well, just about everything. National Grid went live with their new system on November 5, 2012, just days after Hurricane Sandy devastated the East Coast. And the results were catastrophic. Some employees were underpaid, others overpaid, and some not paid at all. The company couldn't process over 15,000 vendor invoices. It took 43 days to close their books, up from just 4 days with the old system. Customer billing was severely disrupted, leading to regulatory investigations. The total cost of this debacle, a staggering $585 million. Let's break down what went wrong. Poor timing. Going live immediately after a major natural disaster was a recipe for disaster. This decision led to employees trying to learn a new system while dealing with crisis conditions, increased transaction volume due to storm recovery efforts, lack of focus and resources for addressing system issues, difficulty distinguishing between storm-related and system-related problems, inadequate testing. Critical payroll and financial processes were not properly tested before go live. Specific testing failures included lack of end-to-end testing of payroll processes, insufficient testing of financial reporting capabilities, inadequate stress testing to handle post-disaster transaction volumes, failure to test integration with legacy systems that weren't being replaced, lack of contingency planning. There was no backup plan when things started to go wrong. This lack of preparation meant that there was no ability to quickly revert to the old system for critical processes. There were lack of manual workarounds for key functions like payroll and vendor payments. There was no clear escalation path for addressing major issues, and there were insufficient resources allocated for post-go-live support. Insufficient training. Employees weren't adequately prepared to use the new system, especially under crisis conditions. Training issues included limited time for hands-on practice with the new system, lack of scenario-based training for different job roles, insufficient focus on exception handling and troubleshooting, no ongoing support or refresher training post-go live. So how could National Grid avoided this catastrophe? Here are some key lessons. Flexible go live date. National Grid should have been willing to delay the go live date in light of Hurricane Sandy. Sometimes it's better to pause than to press forward under suboptimal conditions. A more flexible approach might have involved regular go, no-go assessments leading up to the planned go live date, clear criteria for when to delay, including external factors like natural disasters, a phased go live plan that could be adjusted based on circumstances. Comprehensive testing. A thorough testing phase, including disaster recovery scenarios, could have identified many of the issues before they impacted operations. An effective testing strategy might include unit testing of individual system components, integration testing between different modules, end-to-end testing of complete business processes, performance testing under various load conditions, including disaster scenarios, user acceptance testing with actual business users, parallel running of old and new systems to ensure data integrity. Phased implementation. Instead of a big bang approach, National Grid could have rolled out the system in phases starting with non-critical functions. A phased approach might have looked like this. Phase 1, implement HR and basic financial modules. Phase 2, roll out procurement and vendor management systems. Phase 3, implement customer billing and service systems. Phase 4, integrate asset management and work order systems. Phase 5, full system integration and optimization. A robust training program. A more comprehensive training program, including hands-on practice with the new system, could have better prepared employees for the transition. An effective training plan might include role-based training tailored to specific job functions, hands-on practice in a sandbox environment, scenario-based training to handle common and exceptional situations, train the trainer programs to build internal expertise, ongoing support and refresher training post-go live. A strong contingency plan. Having a clear plan B, including the ability to quickly revert to the old system if necessary, could have minimized disruption. Elements of a strong contingency plan might include maintaining the old system in parallel for a defined period, clear criteria for when to revert back to the old system, backup processes for critical functions like payroll and billing, regular data backups and system snapshots, and a dedicated team for rapid problem resolution. By implementing these strategies, National Grid could have significantly reduced the risk of disruption to their operations and customer service. The lessons learned from this failure have since informed many other utility company ERP implementations, highlighting the importance of flexible planning, thorough testing, and robust contingency measures in large-scale system rollouts. Remember, a successful ERP implementation isn't just about technology, it's about people and partnerships. By learning from these cautionary tales, we can help your organization navigate the complex world of ERP implementation successfully. Are you ready to transform your agency's operations without falling into these traps? Let's chat. I'm Megan Seaton, and I can't wait to help you achieve your ERP goals. Before we wrap up, let's recap the key takeaways from our case studies. Number 1, plan realistically. Don't rush your implementation. Allow adequate time for planning, testing, and training. Number 2, phase your implementation. Break large projects into manageable chunks. This reduces risk and allows for incremental success. Number 3, prioritize testing. Comprehensive testing, including stress tests and user acceptance testing, is crucial for identifying issues before they impact operations. Number 4, invest in training. Well-trained employees are your best defense against implementation failures. Prioritize hands-on, role-specific training. Number 5, have a contingency plan. Always have a backup plan. Whether it's the ability to roll back your old system or manual workarounds for critical processes, be prepared for the unexpected. Number 6, manage change effectively. ERP implementations are as much about organizational change as they are about technology. Number 7, maintain strong oversight. Whether it's government projects or private sector implementations, strong governance and oversight are crucial for keeping projects on track. Number 8, be flexible. Be prepared to adjust your plans as circumstances change. Whether it's shifting go-live dates or modifying project scope, flexibility can be the difference between success and failure. At Avero Advisors, we bring these lessons to every project we undertake. We understand that each organization is unique, and we tailor our approach to meet your specific needs and challenges. Our team of experts have years of experience in guiding public sector organizations through successful ERP implementations. We're not just consultants, we're partners in your success. From initial planning and vendor selection to implementation, training, and post-go-live support, we're with you every step of the way. Don't let your ERP implementation become another cautionary tale. Reach out to us at Avero Advisors and let's work together to ensure your project's success. If you have any more questions or comments regarding these ERP implementation failures, please feel free to follow us on social media and check out our website at averoadvisors.com to download our latest report on digital transformation in the public sector.